Hello everyone, and thanks for tuning in to the Medium by Design. Today is Sunday, October 17th, 2021, and I decided to write and ask for a message from the Galactic Federation Council. I just wanted some clarity on some of the things I observed this year. So as I read this to you, there's a long intro of what I experienced this year observing people. And I'm doing this, I'm going to read this to you to show you how when I ask for these writings, they clarify, even though they're from other dimensions, they clarify what's going on with humanity in this dimension. So they're very grounded. And I ask these questions and I do these requests to get clarity because sometimes human behavior is so strange to observe. There are things that people do, and I can't even put words. I don't want to give my opinion on it. Just my opinion is opinions don't mean anything. But what means a lot to me are these writings, and I hope they mean a lot to you. So I'm just going to read this long intro first, and you can see where I'm coming from, and then I'll get into what they said. This year has been full of highs and lows, nothing too extreme, but definitely a level of strangeness as I observed so many living in their individual bubbles and in general people having trouble simply staying on track in their jobs. Yesterday, Heather brought something to my attention that seemed so surreal and had me wondering, how did that happen? We received 2 vanities. These are bathroom vanities, very simple, it's not complicated, that should have been exactly the same, but are actually 2 different door styles. This was done a couple of months ago, and I will follow up with an email to see what can be done now without removing the vanity. However, I realize this is a sign of the times. Something so clear as this simple order cannot be fulfilled properly because people are unable to function at their best for the myriad of reasons that are floating around the world at this time. These crazy energies have many unable to function at all, never mind trying to follow their individual tasks at work. I must say I reacted with disappointment and anger, but when all is said and done, I am not surprised. Heather and I have witnessed so many strange outcomes and behaviors from numerous people involved in this job, nothing can be a surprise. To be fair, we also had many wonderful surprises and blessings that were just as shocking, but included much more joy than what I mentioned here. And this is true. We saw both sides. We had funny blessings and great stuff happen, but the odd things that happened were simply really, really odd, especially this vanity thing. So today, I want some more insight, clarity, and wisdom about the energies and actions for the rest of this year and into next year. I am asking the Federation Council and Jesus, as well as any others that would like to add something to this message to join me this morning. I know there is much going on, but would like a clearer perspective from my team. And here's what I got from the Galactic Federation. We have been quite busy observing, listening, guiding, inspiring, and communicating with many all over the planet. Humanity has given the simple name of white hat and black hat to those 2 sides of the teams battling it out as we share with you. It truly is just like a James Bond movie. Now, the James Bond reference is because I saw the movie yesterday. I have a lot to say about that movie, but I may hold back on that one. But it is worth seeing, I must tell you. However, at this time, we are looking forward to what happens next. and beyond this clearing out transition you are in the middle of. There are many who are sharing their dire predictions about all that there is to come in reference to the economy, business, while others speak of all the death that is to come from the many current choices that people are making. We will concur that many of these outcomes are still part of the equation, and yes, there are many more souls that will be leaving. This will probably be the most shocking experience for 2022 and beyond. What may not be understood nor accepted is some of the backstory of how things have reached this point. There are so many obvious messages coming through, just like in this current 007 movie. But as you discussed yesterday with your friends, many will not realize what the movie is so clearly trying to betray. There's a message there. I'm not going to expand on it. Watch the movie and then come back and comment about what you saw in the movie. There are many who are desperately trying to paint the picture of what is occurring at the highest levels of government and shadow groups, but so many are missing the boatload of clear information simply because they are distracted and their personal limiting beliefs and naivete keep them in the dark and in denial. As we have said many times before, no matter. It does not matter who believes what, as this wave of energy is not stopping anytime soon and must be brought to full fruition in order to finish this cycle of evolution. How each of you comes out of it is completely up to you. There will be casualties, but as you have said, Salvatore, they will see after they are dead. No truer words have been spoken. All comes to light very quickly when one crosses over. So where do you go from here? Well, one thing is certain. Those who stay on track will be placed in new positions using as much of their skills as possible to bring this world back to balance. All right, so we have a little glimmer of hope here and light. Those that are aware and those that become aware will be much more consciously involved in their day-to-day lives and the energy that they bring to it. This is just the beginning of the great waves of creative change to be brought to the planet. Now, you've heard this. This is in some of my other messages. So there are repeat phrases that come through my messages because they really want us to hold on to the truth that we're in the middle of the muck and there is something much better to come. But we have to choose. We have to choose, which many people still have not done yet. This is just the beginning of the great waves of creative change to be brought to the planet. You can see this with yourself, although you would complain at the slowness of all things. We would remind you that much of your changes began on the inside. Remember, each and every one changes from the inside first. True, outer circumstances can stir change, but it is the inner shifts that change the outer world in the most foundational ways. This is still not understood by the masses. This is why they remain in pain and suffering and relive their painful soul memories over and over again. They simply have not picked up all of the power they gave away and continue to give away in many life circumstances. Remember, we can never downplay the truth that many are operating from other timelines that have no place at this time on Earth. This simple concept remains out of reach for many. We cannot say there are not enough opportunities to learn and grow. They are all around most, and all that is needed is an opening of the eyes and realization that the mind cannot know all. Once this stance is achieved, the floodgates of understanding can open and life can move into its next higher evolutionary position. We hope we are not being too esoteric here. We wish to convey these concepts as simply as possible so those that hear these words can truly make a more active role in take a more active role in moving the planet further, as well as ridding the planet of so many old, outmoded energies, ways of behavior, and lower emotions that have proven to keep many in the dark. Moving one's life into the light has been depicted in so many movies it would be impossible to count, and yet here humanity sits. We can understand why many of you have grown weary and impatient over the slowness of this process. Many of you have been receiving messages and insights to the powerful transition humanity is going through, and more so, the grand future that awaits. We know that watching ignorance continue to react, take actions that seem so lowly, is getting more and more difficult to witness. We would remind you again that that which is not yours does not have to be watched, witnessed, or partook of. We mean this wholeheartedly. There is absolutely no reason for you to be witness to any other soul playing out some scenario that is part of their own path and not part of yours. You do not have to watch the show, do a commentary on any of it, and most importantly, be part of it in any way. You may want to re-listen to that. You may want to click back, and because that was a very important part that parallels with the discerning messages I've given before, I've read to you before. We have to get clear of what's ours and what's not, and really stay out of what's not ours. And being an empath, that's a life lesson for me, because it's so easy for me to be swayed by any other energy of the universe or person, just be swayed by energies. So I know firsthand how difficult it is to turn away from something. It's like that stupid saying, when you see a car crash, you can't turn away, right? You're compelled to stare at the disaster, right? Which could say something why we're so attracted to disaster movies. There's something about that. There's some energy there that attracts us. But in what we're going through now, I'm realizing I have to, and this has happened since this whole COVID transition started, I have turned away from so many people, places, and things. And even before so, because 2019, and I'm going to do a video on some of the energies from that summer, that was a turning point way before COVID, that I had no idea I was going to have to wake up to behaviors in people and energies coming through. And on one of my walking videos, I talked about my friend Norman, who I had a very difficult time with last November 2020. And that friendship ended. And it just was out of the blue. And now I realize that sometimes a darker energy will flow, and listen to me carefully when I say this, because this was a big lesson for me, a big learning, and I hate to use the word lessons, but it was definitely something I had to see and learn from. I needed to get this. I believe now that energies, darker energies, will flow through a person to remind us to get away from that person. And an interesting example came up the other day. My friend's son had been married to a woman, and she had 3 affairs. And by the 3rd affair, he finally got it that she was not his kind of woman. That wasn't the relationship that he signed up for. No, we're not saying, there's no judgment, right? If you sign up for a relationship that's open, you're having an open relationship, then you have that's your commitment to each other. You want to keep it open. That's a real life scenario. But this was not the case. This is not what he signed up for. But why did it take 3 times of her behavior to wake him up to that he could achieve the relationship he wanted to if he would let that one go? So you see, it changes the whole perception of what they're doing is wrong, and it brings it back to us to, I didn't sign up for this, or I no longer wish to partake in this. And then we turn away. So it changes the whole emotional reactionary base that we go through when some energy is coming through a person that's not for our highest good. We realize, oh, I don't like that energy, so I'm not going to be part of it. Just give me a second here. Okay. So that you see how this, if we change our perception of things, we can change our reality, we can change our lower emotional waves and reactions. And I think that's really important now with what's going on in the world and what we're experiencing and what we're looking at. So that little section, if you want to go back to that and listen to that again, it might help many of you to start realizing there's no shame or guilt in turning away, walking away, ending something, consciously coming to an end and realizing that end is for your highest good. And I can give you many examples of endings I never wanted and was very angry about, but now I realize they're for my highest good. So you may not get this if you're watching this and you're in the middle of something now. It would be wonderful if a light bulb went on and you went, oh, this ending's for my highest good, and you took a piece of candy and skipped down the street. I'm so happy now. I would love that for you, and I wish that for you, but I also realize that sometimes when we're in the middle of it, the emotional pain we go through, the trauma we go through, sometimes takes a while to get past. But I would love us to get past those kind of reactions sooner than later and realize we don't have to have an emotional reaction to everything. At some point, that part of our being, as they say, changes from the inside and we don't have to have reactions. And that's when we know we cleared something from our core and the energy is no longer going to come out of us. And let me tell you, I've experienced this, and I'm sure there's more to go, but the way I feel and sense and react now is so much more healthy than how I used to be. And other videos have talked about layers and programming and things that are imposed on us from outside or past lives, other timelines, like they say, people reacting from other timelines. There are many reasons why we emote the way we do and why we're witnessing other people do the same. But evolution, true evolution from our core, does not allow that to go on forever, because there's no reason. Once you start understanding these higher concepts, you no longer have to behave that way, because you keep consciously saying, I'm done with that, I'm done with that, I'm done with this, I'm done with that. I don't want that kind of woman, I don't want that kind of man, I don't want that kind of job. Because we know that the energy in that job, in that relationship, in this friendship is not for our highest good. And once we know that and we own the power to change that, then there is no more guilt. There doesn't have to be, because we are allowed to do things for our highest good. And that has nothing to do with the emotions of the other person. A lot of people will play on your emotions and use the guilt card. God knows, we know that one. That's been done many times. They'll use the emotional card on you to get a response. But if you stand there, as I did in 2019, and observe that energy in another person and do nothing, and I don't mean do nothing as far as be lazy or passive, but don't engage with that energy, they have nowhere to go. They will move on to the next person and pull that card on them to try to get the rise that they want to get. And I will tell you, this man in the summer of 2019 was so angry and dealing with his own rage in front of my face, where spit was coming out, and could not understand why I would not engage. And he even came out and asked me, I don't understand. You're standing here with the deer in the headlights look. And I said, because I have no clue what you're doing. I do not relate to the energy in you that's coming out of you towards me. I don't get it. I don't relate to it. I'm not part of it. And of course, that can get people even more angry. But that is the show of mastery that evolution can bring. And we can stand there and realize, that's not my energy. I don't have to play in that. It takes two. Remember that stupid phrase? It takes two to tango. But if you're not willing to tango, they have to deal with themselves. Everybody has to live with their own energy until they clear it. And this is a huge thing that I'm seeing now. What is this, 3 years, right? The last 3 years. And of course, many of you can't help but not to witness if you watch any of the crazy newsreels or people's videos around the world of what other people are doing. You can't help but to notice. Now, I'm not saying to partake, as they said. We're not here to partake in all of that. But you must have seen something over the last 3 years of behaviors where people were just emoting crazy energy. But the truth is, it's their energy. And even if it came through them at the time, like I said before, hopefully whoever is around them will get something out of that and use it for positive, or just end that connection. You know, it could be that simple. It's just a time for an ending. So let me finish up the last part of this, and we'll see how this goes. The highest and best way to get through all of this is to stay in your own lane, partaking in all the things that bring you joy and involving yourself with only those individuals that are supportive and loving. We know this sounds so simple, as so many are still in relations with people that are far from this ideal. We say to you, how can these situations change if no one is willing to take the first step? You would say, but if I do that or this, there will be hard feelings. And we would say, yes, but after the hard feelings comes a new sense of freedom and new ideas of expression, which has always been the end game of this huge transition. We hope that many people will be able to understand that these seemingly hard decisions to walk away from an experience in the long run, creating more freedom and joy for all involved, even if this can't be seen at the time. We will leave you with this. Take time, a time out, as you would say, to really evaluate all your individual connections, actions, and involvements, and see which ones are really telling you this is done. And you just keep yourself connected for no apparent reason. Then go deeper, if possible, to uncover the reason and let it go. The simplest way to do this is to move away from the logical explanations and simply feel the energy of whatever experience you are evaluating and choose if it is truly right for you. As we have said before, once you start this process, you will see that much of what you feel is important for you to be part of actually has no real purpose in your life. Many things are simply distractions that may have had purpose at one time, but are quickly losing significance. Only you can decide what stays and what goes. Choose wisely. So that's from our Galactic Federation Council friends who are overseeing us and our human evolution on this beautiful planet. And I hope this touches you. Like I said, I'm giving this to you right away. I just wrote this morning, and I said, here, let's just put this out and see what you guys feel about it. And hopefully it helps and it raises something up and helps you make clearer decisions. So again, I did go see the last 007 movie, and there's a lot in there about what we're going through now. I'm not going to comment on it. You have to decide for yourself. But it is in there. There's a lot of juicy nuggets besides the typical action of a 007 movie, which I haven't watched that kind of stuff in a while. So it was very interesting. So again, if anything here touched you, it was positive, it lifted you up, it did anything, it's really simple. If you like it, it helps me. If you subscribe, it helps. What I didn't say in any videos, this will be the first one I say this, you can share these videos with anybody. I have no problem with that. If you think this could help somebody, please share it. And then, of course, the last thing is the PayPal button. If you feel you want to support me financially in any way, I would greatly appreciate it. As most of you might know by now, I really don't work full-time. So, of course, income is a very nebulous thing in my life, but I don't worry about it. I don't complain about it anymore. I used to. I don't anymore. I take things for face value, and I do the best I can with what I got. And so far, things are pretty good. So, and from what they tell me on the other side, I'm going to be expanding more and more and more. Well, we'll see how this goes. But I appreciate you guys very much. I appreciate the comments that you've shared. I appreciate people reaching out to me. It's been really quite lovely, I have to say. I know that some of this information is beyond many people's comprehension. I know that. And just so you know, if you did get this far in the video, it was beyond my comprehension too. So, and I laugh at this because, again, I'm very honest with you guys, my little personality from New Jersey, my little Italian personality, didn't know about this shit, did not know that this was going on in the universe, had no idea. But now, after all these years, and it is 30 years that I've been involved with this, I am so grateful. And what they talked about in this message, I have walked away from a lot of people and a lot of groups, because now my new foundation is, if I can't be me in front of you or me in front of a group, I'm out of here. And that's it. That's my new simple foundation for life. And what that really means is I've come to the realization that I love myself enough by myself, doing this by myself, that it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. This is the most important form of expression, is just to do it because you love it for yourself. And that goes with all forms of expression. I'm not limiting this to anything. It's whatever really is the right and highest action for you. So, and I hope that gets better and better. So thanks again for watching. And I'll keep saying there's much more to come on The Medium by Design.